A very good afternoon to all of you, and thank you for joining HBNI celebrating 75 years of the Indian independence, Aazadi ka Amrut Mahotsav. Today we have gathered to recall achievements of our country in the domain of particle accelerators, and it's a great pleasure for me to welcome all of you to this webinar. The history of development of accelerators, in fact, I find this very fascinating. When we discuss accelerators, the first names that come to our mind are John Cockcroft or Walton or Van-de-Graaff or Ernest Lawrence. But the first cyclotron, which was conceived, was even before Lawrence. About 100 years ago, in 1922, exactly, the concept of betatron, which was of course the first cyclic accelerator, was proposed by Joseph Slepian. The concept of cyclotron was also patented by Leo Szilard, the Hungarian genius, in 1929, even before it was built by Lawrence. And the story of the Indian accelerator program is equally fascinating, and we will hear an authoritative account from the speaker today. But suffice it to say that Dr. Nath Chowdhury, who did his PhD at Berkeley and worked with Emilio Segre and Ernest Lawrence, he is credited with building the first cyclotron in India. And today, India has made great advances in the field of accelerators and their applications. And it's very apt that we will hear the story from Professor Bikash Sinha, who has spearheaded the Indian program on accelerators for over 2 decades. It's my great pleasure to welcome Professor Bikash Sinha to this meeting, and I will briefly introduce him, even though he is nationally and internationally a very well-known figure. Professor Bikash Sinha obtained BSc from Kolkata University, BA from Cambridge, MA and PhD from London University, and DSc also from London University, and finally his PhD HC from National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. He was a senior research fellow in King's College, London up to 1976, joined BARC in 1976, and finally became director Variable Energy Cyclotron Center, Kolkata in 1987. He also later took charge concurrently of the director position of Saha Institute of Nuclear Physics from 1992. Professor Sinha established theoretical as well as experimental groups at VECC and SINP for various research activities, and particularly for study of quark-gluon plasma. He also led the teams which designed, fabricated, and tested 4 photon multiplicity detectors for use at LHC, a muon arm for use at LHC, and a chip named Manas for use with the major detectors at LHC. In India, he led the team building the superconducting cyclotron and the radioactive ion beam at Kolkata, and he is well known for his leadership in science education, popularization of science, and furthering scientific temperament. Professor Sinha has served as member of Scientific Advisory Council to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet and Government of India. And among several awards which he has received, I will just mention only a few of them. The S.N. Bose Birth Centenary Award in 1994, Padma Shri in 2001, the Meghnad Saha Memorial Lecture Award in 2007, and the Bidan Memorial Honor in 2008. He was elected Fellow of the National Academy of Sciences, India, Allahabad in 1993, the New York Academy of Sciences in 1997, and the Indian Academy of Sciences, Bangalore in 2004. This is just to briefly recall the eminence of Professor Bikash Sinha. It is very nice of him to provide his valuable time and perspectives on the development of accelerators and their applications in India as part of the HBNI celebration of the Aazadi ka Amrut Mahotsav. Very good afternoon, sir, and welcome to this program. We look forward to listening to you. Professor Bikash Sinha, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Rao, my colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and friends. I consider it a great honor to deliver this HBNI Eminent lecture series, and particularly since Professor Rao has been so generous to invite me to give this lecture. Now, Aazadi ka Amrut Mahotsav. I'm sorry, my Hindi is a bit rusty. I had some difficulty in understanding. So I thought Amrit is Amrit, what we drink, or the goddesses and gods drink. But it tells our 75 years of independence, which I heartily join all of you for celebration. It's not a very long time for India, in Indian history, but it is a long time as far as Indian independence. Because India has been under foreign rule for a very, very long time. And time has come to take up the challenge and do some exciting things for our country. One of the things I thought that Professor Rao's suggestion is the development of accelerators and science with accelerators in India, as well as collaboration with big accelerators abroad. Now, why accelerate? Because human eye can perceive only up to certain resolution of object. If you go smaller and smaller, human eye cannot perceive that. Man had to develop some device to magnify the system to understand the properties and other things. I think technically I'm right to say that Lord Rutherford in the first half of the last century actually devised some kind of accelerator when he shot the alpha particle to gold foil, discovered the atomic nucleus. It is a very famous discovery, and that was the beginning of the history of accelerator. And now accelerator has become a centerpiece in many, many research activities in the world. And the biggest accelerator that I have worked with, the Large Hadron Collider in Geneva, which is an engineering marvel. Scientifically, it's called the discovery tree. But if you go to the next slide, look.
Sir, it will be nice if your mic also is moved a little closer because we can hear you better.
Yeah. Looking glass, new looking glass to see objects as you go smaller and smaller in the sky. This is the matter that you know. Extreme left is just ordinary matter, could be a box or something. Then Dalton discovered in the 19th century the existence of atom, the atom we call it. And there is a controversy whether the atom was discovered by Indians as well. I won't go into the controversy now. And as I just mentioned, Lord Rutherford discovered at the beginning of last century the nucleus. You can see the red arrow which shows the inside the atomic nucleus. To give an understanding about the size of things, if you consider the size of the football field, then the nucleus is of the size of a pea in that most is back.
Not good.
Okay? Then eventually by 1930s, Chadwick discovered neutron. It was understood the nucleus consists of neutron and proton. And by 60s, the few discoveries of deep elastic, inelastic scattering, Murray Gell-Mann, Mercurial great physicist from Caltech, California, discovered the existence of quarks. Quarks inhabit the nucleon, hadrons, if you like, which is the neutron, proton, and the messenger boy between them, the meson. And they go from one end to the other, the pions, with the strong force. Quarks are strange particles. Strange is difficult to understand. They do not come out of the neutrons and protons. They're permanently enslaved inside the nucleus hadron. And one of my work with my colleagues has been to use the Large Hadron Collider to see under what circumstances huge energy quarks would come out of the hadrons to create a quark gluon plasma. I will talk about it briefly. By the way, I think I should touch upon a philosophical anecdote here. The entire thing that we have studied all our lives, our children will do that, our grandchildren will do that, our grandparents did that, is to use the idea of Kant and Hegel, the Western philosopher, called the reductionism. You reduce the matter to atom, atom to nucleus, nucleus to quarks and gluon. So you reduce from one to the other all the way through. But if you go on to the Indian philosophy, the Vedanta and Upanishad, it is a question of singularity. And it's a different issue altogether. But you'll be surprised to hear one of the great discoverers of quantum mechanics, Schrödinger, as a matter of fact, had a great deal of understanding about singularity, Vedanta, and Upanishad. So much of philosophy. But the ancient Indians were quite smart. They wanted to have the elementary, most fundamental objects as Kiti, Op. Kiti means earth. Kiti, Op, Tej, Marut, Brahma. The so-called bomb, the sky or vacuum, like after a person's death, the soul apparently gets completely diffused with this Panchabhut. Let that pass. The ancient Greeks, however, just talked fire, water, and air. That's all. But the Indians, the Hindus, were smarter at that time to figure out the importance of boom, time, emptiness. This is in physics, we call it the vacuum. Okay. Fundamental structure of matter. You see, the bottom you see here, in order to see a big lump of matter, you don't need very minute wavelength. But as you go shorter and shorter, smaller and smaller object, you need more smaller wavelength, and that means more energy, as it were. And this is why to see quarks and gluons indirectly has to go to higher energy. Long time ago, Meghnad Saha wanted to have a cyclotron in Saha Institute of Physics. Sorry, nothing works. Yeah. That cyclotron was assembled. Lawrence of Lawrence Berkeley Laboratory helped him. Unfortunately, there was absolute terrible chaos because of the Second World War. The vacuum pumps and other things of the cyclotron got drowned in the ocean. Punjab University sent the cyclotron to the United States. Homi Jahangir Bhabha somehow arranged a 2 million fold Van-de-Graaff to IIT Kanpur. Then comes 5.5 million fold Van-de-Graaff BARC. This was a barter process which we bought it from America, I believe, monazite sand. And before that, there was 1 million volt Cascade Generator, TIFR, actually homemade at Tata Institute by at that time P.K. Iyengar, Raja Ramanna, and so on. You see, so far, nothing we built us. I'm very sorry, nothing works in this damn. The K130 cyclotron was built in Calcutta. This was Raja Ramanna's idea. The Sinha Institute of Nuclear Physics, being the biggest institute in nuclear physics in India at that time, about the only one. It is only fair to build a cyclotron K130 entirely indigenous. It was very hard to do in 1969-70 when there was power cuts, Nakshal movements, what have you. But I must say, looking back in life, it was a fantastic performance. The young people walked through the night and slept during the day was such as the devotion. Now the young people of our generation, at this any pace, is dying to go home, having come to office in the morning. This is the all board assemble. I don't have to read it out. This is essentially border assembled, as I say, including the SC LINAC at Delhi, Mumbai, and also 14 million volt Mumbai Pelletron and Delhi Pelletron. Then comes another jump. And we at the VECC, very proud to have built the superconducting cyclotron and the ONURIB, the radioactive ion beam, which is doing very well. Both of them are operational, and it will be more operational as we go by. I bought a FRENA, a very low energy accurate determination of cross-section Saha Institute. That was 2009, and this is 2022. But I'm very sorry to say, it still is not working. This is Meghnad Saha, the first pioneer, although it was somewhat of a, not quite a great success. Then the two persons who really did something miraculous at that time, but the industry has very little, are these two guys, these two gentlemen, which are very familiar, the Eminent. So this is the list we have, which is told most people who are in this game. Institute of Physics, G.S. Ramurthy arranged that 3 million volt tandem. Indian University Accelerators, again a Pelletron bought. Tata Institute 14 million volt Pelletron again bought. And 7 million volt Potia, the radiation Bhabha Atomic Research Center and Variable Energy Cyclotron Center. And Raja Ramanna Center for Advanced Technology Indore for two cyclotron is working quite well. These are the various sectors where there is accelerator activity. Bhubaneswar I mentioned, BARC, TIFR, and RRCAT, and Delhi. Now, variable energy cyclotron center, briefly go through it. There's a large agenda in my talk. Room temperature, then K500 superconducting cyclotron is operational now, I'm very glad to say, because a superconducting cyclotron is a beast of a machine. It's extremely sensitive to have the so-called beam out. Beam optics is kind of complicated, but we did it. And then third India collaboration and spare the so-called German machine, which we are working quite closely. So this is on the go in the sense still being made. ADS's project don't have much activity now. I'm very glad to say in nuclear medicine, we have a medical cyclotron to talk about. This is the picture of the universe you are know, and then you see the QCT, a quark chromodynamic, quantum chromodynamic phase transition happen at temperature 100 MeV, about a microsecond from the Big Bang. I don't know. We should talk about it a little bit. Room temperature, super cyclotron, reactive ion beam, medical cyclotron, helium project also, I won't talk about it. ADSS, I won't talk about it. Quark gluon plasma. International collaboration start, Brookhaven National Laboratory, and TSI in Germany. See, we're going through a phase change in a different way, human experience. This is an extraordinary experience as far as my working days are concerned. Produces Indian National Gamma Array. It was a combination of effort with not just one, 3 or 4 institutions in university. Now, India has a tradition of working alone. I was a bit worried about how 4 or 5 people will work together. But I must admit, looking back in life, there's a lot of tension among them, and people leaving and so on. Eventually, it got ironed out. This Clover detector worked very well, and international gamma array worked very well. 4 Clover array, you see that? It's a beautiful detector. This is called Meghnad, multi-element gamma heavy ion and neutron array facility. I think somebody was very keen to have Meghnad there, so he explained how Meghnad could come in, all those big words. Anyway, that's also a kind of Bakula minister, that spherical object. That's also a 4-pi detector working very well. This is the new world of detectors. I had a terrible time to impress upon the so-called bureaucrats in Delhi, because they always used to say, let the machine be built, then we talk about the detector. Fact is that building detectors takes as long as the machine. It's difficult and hard for us to get in their head. This is a new thing they discovered at VECC on wobbling of gold 183. This is wobble, literally wobbling in the so-called major axis of the subject. This is a very interesting phenomenon which has been discovered, not first time here, but more or less, published in PRL. This is another interesting thing. Eta by S, eta is viscosity, S is entropy, and there is a very big theorem which says that it should be in the limit. And this is true not only for nuclear physics, that is low energy, non-relativistic physics, but also in terms of quark gluon plasma. We always thought quark gluon plasma is a non-interacting primary fluid, but it turned out that it has a large viscosity characterized by that particular quantity, eta by S. So this limit that was discovered some time ago in a theoretical base is now valid at nuclear physics energy, eta by S, 0.8 to 2.1, slightly higher, and also valid for quark gluon plasma. And then this is another interesting phenomenon, the detailed discovery of Hoyle state. What is Hoyle state? Fred Hoyle, while you are doing this business about carbon cycle in the solar system. He just postulated the existence of the 7.65 MeV state. And in fact, that was not known at that time. That was his intuition. He assumed is there. Eventually, of course, it was discovered, and Chandana Bhattacharya, husband Srila Bhattacharya and their colleagues, Tilak Ghosh and so on, discovered this particular oil state, which I think is a remarkable discovery considering people have gone through this kind of energy before. This is the famous Jadughoda. Jadughoda mine near Ranchi in Jadughoda, and there the existence of some gamma production deep down in the mine. And these three young fellows walked away. I'm not quite sure what is happening now. I guess nothing very much. Picasso for cold dark butterscotch, superheated droplet. Again, that activity has stopped. India-based nuclear observatory. I don't want to shed tears, my friend. It's one of the most tragic history in contemporary Indian science of physics. Some people spend their lifetime on that, but some armchair astrologists stopped it all the time. In fact, very fancy ladies coming from very wealthy background, they managed to convince the government that this is very bad. Why is it very bad? The so-called traffic of elephants would be very disturbed. The elephant would be very disturbed if the neutrinos come showering at them. He mentioned that millions and millions of neutrinos are passing through your head right now, but they didn't believe it. Very sad. Nothing happened. And this is why location of the Indian neutrino observatory is kind of stalled. Moment if somebody can crack this problem, I'd be most grateful to him or them. Look at the cyclotron, T500. I was deep into it technologically as well. So there is nothing, in my opinion, at this age I can say that you are an engineer, you are a physicist, and you can't be bored. Nonsense. I had to learn a lot of things. It was great fun. It was a great challenge. This is Dr. Chidambaram, the last and only chief minister who is a communist, Sri Jyoti Basu, came to lay the foundation stone to the cyclotron in 1997. Now it is absolutely complicated object. I'm very glad and happy to say the beam is out and is working quite well. This is where Jyoti Basu is actually signing the book, this book. I still remember he very politely said in his grave voice, Olove Kali nahi. That means there was no ink in the pen. I was responsible. Superconducting cyclotron has a much higher energy, so you got hot nuclear matter, dynamics of dissipative collision, and so on and so forth, and nuclear chemistry as well. This is a big day for me, for my life. 25th August 2009, the internal beam was obtained at 3:30 a.m. And August 25th, 2009, we got the external beam. Very happy and delighted that it happened. Those all look quite young. I'm very sorry to say, ladies and gentlemen, they look much older. This is the DCC Rare Iron Beam RIB project. I won't go into details, you'll get bored. It's a complicated business altogether. There's a lot of Linux, a lot of RFQ, and so on and so forth. This is radioactive ion beam contribution. If you see the diagram, and I wish I had a pointer, but I don't have a pointer, unfortunately. I have to buy a new pointer which penetrates to the white. I'm sorry. So R process, RP process, super heavy nuclei, all these things will be discovered in these things. Worldwide, there is a large number of these objects. You see how many RIVs are being built all over the world. It's a new renaissance of nuclear physics, including CERN. They have an ISON facility which is working very well. We should take part in it. Trouble with my country now, they just want to sit in the shell and go home. I mean, the science, world of science is not restricted to one particular lab. They must understand science is international today, more so than ever before. So they must collaborate, they must understand, but somehow their thinking pattern has gone completely weird. There's too much attraction to go home. This is the complicated Rutherford campus, and it's extremely complicated. It's coming up. Managed to get 25 acres of land, 22 acres of land in the prime area, but not used properly so far. Another picture of K130 supplying the proton and alpha to the radioactive ion. This is the focus on indigenous design and construction. It's a very complicated object, but we've done that. The RFQ radio frequency quadrupole was built by us. This is the annex building where all these quadrupoles and everything is done. And this is I signed some time ago with the Triumph chapter in Canada, the so-called memorandum of understanding to develop the what you call the something to do with the RIB. And this was one of the rarest things. The government of India spent some money, and some of that will be used in Canada for development of this object. The cryo module that they wanted to build, I think is working very well indeed. The collaboration worked out extremely well. Honoring facility. The trouble, I should make a point to my friends, we do all these things, look at the cyclotron, honoring, but they're always late. And I can't blame anyone. The system government is to delay matters so much. There's so many questions are asked, but ultimately we lose out. Because to build the accelerators is not just building the accelerators, that is the purpose and goal, but to discover new science is the goal. But we miss out completely, very unfortunate. And you are quite happy saying, we have done this and we have done that. But in terms of the actual discovery, we have very little to contribute, but they're doing the best given the circumstances. There were the biomedical tracer also, in terms of potassium 43 for the heart and so on, argon 40 engineering wear, tear, the super allowed beta decay test of standard model. So from nuclear physics, we can test standard model also. This is the bimodal fission of uranium. My young colleague who retired also, Alok Chakravarti and his colleagues have published a beautiful paper. RIV produced so far, again argon 40, potassium, etc. Look at the linear accelerator TIFR that was bought. And these are the two penetrons. You see, the ocean stops there. That's the Tata Institute Fundamental Research. And the New Delhi one on the right hand side. They are working very well, essentially for university people. I believe they are doing a good job. Superconducting TIFR, I said, primary fission again. Oh, I'm sorry. Indus 1, Indus 2. Again, it's a very painful thing to build these things. By the time it's built, there are cyclotron of much higher energy and much better resolution have been operating in the world. So again, after all this hard work, we miss out. I'm very frustrated at this advanced stage of mine that so much hard work don't get recognized because we don't have time anymore. We're too late to discover something really fundamental. In that sense, Polar Goldfield of Bhabha was a great success. In this too, is the name of the technology, they have done a lot of things, but in the name of science, there's nothing very much you can do now. You can, but nothing very much. This is the medical cyclotron we bought. I recall he helped me a lot on this thing. PET radiopharmaceuticals, indigenous production PET radiopharmaceutical, and that is done. Thallium for myocardial perfusion, gallium and fluorine that is given to the local hospitals, and it's absolutely fantastic. A story that you'll be horrified. We sell it to them, to our various agencies in DE at 1/3 of the price of the world. But they sell it to the patients full cost. Imagine how much profit they make. I think there should be legislation to stop this nonsense. Our effort is not recognized, therefore, because the patients are not getting it at the 1/3 price, which is the original idea. I hope I made myself clear. There should be legislation to make sure that these isotopes which are given from the medical cyclotron to various institutions or hospitals should be at the cost price of the VECC machine, not of the world. But I must say, after a lot of hassle, the building has come out. It's a beauty. It's a real beauty. September 18, 2018 is operational. All these youngsters did a fantastic job. I'm very, very proud. I think the gesture on my face suggests, yes, you have done it. This is the IBA machine. Now I come to international collaboration. International collaboration, I'm sorry, quite a lot of people don't agree with me. But international collaboration is a must if you want to be in the front line of science. You can't fiddle around in your backyard in end of first part of 21st century. Just not feasible. But people are saying, oh, you don't want to go here and there to have a holiday. Nonsense. Faith, confidence. The first thing we did with Riken at Japan, Tokyo, with my friend Tani Hakasan, no, sorry, Yano-san, and this was a tremendous success. I don't quite know what is the status. I guess not very much. And Daisy also in Germany, something is happening. Fermi Lab, there was a lot of interaction, hardware, and Rick, there is touch for fog-blown plasma. This is the diagram of the universe on the microsecond Big Bang. Gravity was quantized at 10 to the minus 42 to the minus 43 seconds. The universe consisted of quarks and gluons, mesons, and photons, leptons, muon, electrons, microsecond 10 to the minus 6. If you watch it very carefully, ladies and gentlemen, you see the energy changes by 19 orders of magnitude. From 10 to the power 19 to 1 GeV in a time of a microsecond, at the beginning of all beginning, the so-called Big Bang. This is the LHC, Large Hadron Collider, 27 kilometers circumference is one side, and 27 kilometers in the other side is collider mode. 54 kilometers of high vacuum and all kinds of things at that time. And this is incredible achievement. Absolutely incredible. LHC actually tried to discover the extreme left of the phase diagram. But the so-called vagabond is laughing away because that part has been discovered by one of the partners is ourselves. See the beginning of the universe. How it looks like. This is the number of baryons, the neutrons, the protons and electrons are gone. Very few. It's just huge energy. From that the universe was created. It will go down in the energy. Other side of it, down below, large density and very small temperature, is our friend neutron star. There is work on neutron star working away quite a bit. So between neutron star and beginning of the universe, at the left-hand side, you can have the phase diagram of the universe. It's the most fascinating thought that we are now on the threshold of discovering the essential fiber of the universe. Radiation from quark-gluon plasma, star SPS. This is a large hadron collider. Extraordinary number of countries, extraordinary number of people work there together all over the world. I think we took part in a very dynamic way. We earned our name. I'm afraid all fallen apart for some reason I can't. Alice is for heavy iron. Atlas and CMS discovery. Higgs boson and LSCB is an interesting sector to see the new world. Photon multiplicator, that was our baby. And in fact, it was done so well that we really got a good name in the Muon Arm project, Saha Institute, Aligarh. I'm sorry. And CMS, LSC, TIFR, BARC, and Saha Institute working. And this WA series were also a great success. This we built, so-called PMD and WA team. And this is a small chip type of thing, but you have plastic scintillator and optical fiber sort of diagonal, in the diagonal, diagonal, pick up the photon as the signal. That's a 50 Anna point. You see how incredibly young we look at that time. 9, extreme left is Rao, my student, went to work in Germany and disappeared in the jungles of New York. And next to him, I forget his name now, I believe the rumor he has become a billionaire, not millionaire, billionaire. Yogi, like me, is aging. Post next to him is also in America. The rest two are PCC retired, happily retired and tired. This is the huge generation of this kind. This is at the start SPS. And this is the test. Everything has to work. There's no excuse that one thing is not working and that thing. They don't tell you why, but they simply ask you, can you leave the place? That's all. They don't have time to explain to you. It's a remarkable experience. You can see the PMD there. The right-hand side is the Muon Spectrometer, essentially done by Saha Institute. It's a brilliant success because they produce the so-called detector system, which is unique. And it's equivalent across the Atlantic, relativistic heavy ion collider. You see the circumference is about 3 kilometers as opposed to 54 or 37 kilometers. It's a great success. This is the detector star experiment which we collaborated at RIC. Way back in 1994, Dinesh was probably there and I wrote a paper claiming TRL that you already found quark-gluon plasma and quark-gluon plasma was found. But at that time, nobody believed. This is the more latest Journal of Physics G 2007, and you see thermal plus perturbative QCD, the technical word, goes right to the data. So I was happy. Not long after that I retired, we have discovered Bob Plasma. As the Microsecond Institute is a beautiful object, really beautiful. Very proud of it. It have been used for detection of very minute cancer cells, but nobody, no doctor was interested. Their interest lies somewhere else. I don't think there's much to learn. Electric grid 2 center, TIFR D0 also. And now I'll talk about briefly factors. Why? You see, these are the factors, you know that. In India is sitting there, supposed to remember and great doer that country. Apart from meetings time to time, nothing happens. See, subcountries have a history. It's very different. The history of West, practically reflected with the principle of history. 2,500 years ago, it was Gautam Buddha, the Emperor Ashoka. Enlightenment of Buddha actually flourished in China, Japan, Thailand, Sri Lanka, Burma, Tibet, much more than in India. Liberal Hinduism in Bali, Indonesia. The famous song or famous story for Kamliwala by Rabindranath Tagore. And Afghanistan and Bengal cannot be very dissimilar each other. The tremendous affection of the Kamliwala towards this girl is remarkably portrayed by Rabindranath. Here I must say one thing. You see, Afghanistan has given us BARC, the so-called string instrument which goes by the name of Sarod. My friend Aazadi Khan Sahab, who is one of the greatest Sarod players of my country, his grandfather brought the Bhabha from Afghanistan, was a horse trader, to the Maharaja of War, so-called household, and played there as a Tarwadi figure. Then slowly and surely, Sarod took over. Bengal took a very good liking to the instrument. I suspect Rabindranath used that theme as Kamliwala. It established deep-rooted civilization links across Asia. It is based on theological and cultural inroad, not by imperial domination, but a form of spontaneous evolution, broader identity. It's a sense of civilizational, cultural unity across the broad campus of diversity. India has been over the centuries the melting point of diverse cultures. In more recent times, the Mughals, British, much smaller degree, Dutch, French, even the Portuguese have come here from the settled, even Chinese. This is India, this is the kaleidoscope of India. Now India is a fast track to become a global entity. Thus, has a very definite role in this part of the world. Science has no dogma or religion. Religion is maybe playing havoc in our country. Science would be a good thing to stick on the mutual friendship and comradeship among various nations. By and large, scientific institutions are based on universal fraternity, kindred spirits. That's what I was referring to before. CERN happened in that same way after the Second World War. Now you see, Germany fought British, the French, but they became mates, same mates, the same table to start Eurozone. If that can happen, countries sit down across the table with Pakistanis and Afghanistanis and so on and so forth. Why not? Try it now. First accelerator begins operation. Famous John Adams getting the proton cyclotron going. Sharpak discovers the most outstanding revolutionary detector. Story goes, Sharpak had an appointment with his dentist. And he says, Doc, I'm very sorry. I can't make my appointment today. I have to go somewhere. Doc got very annoyed. He said, dentist, where do you have to go? Oh, I just have to go to Sweden, pick up my Nobel Prize. That's proton accelerator, proton collider, neutral current, bosons, and so on. SPS, the first big scale machine. Maybe air conditioner begins, saw that. Carlo Rubia, who came here a number of times, Papa, he, after him, I think, Van-de-Graaff, sitting there in the control room, like Tim Berners-Lee invented web, internet, and all hell started. You see that? One detectable atlas, I saw it again. All these people work together. They don't fight, they don't scream. They come from anywhere in the world you can think of. Only thing in common with them, passion for science. That's a marvelous statement. It's a tremendous thing to learn in life. This is the discovery of Higgs boson quickly, 127 GeV. Alice Neo's spectrometer at CERN, Hans Gulbrod in the middle. Great success. That's spectrometer in green. EMD, time track, Alice, and of course another thing that is happening, which I'm sure you know, recent discovery of gravitational wave. Very glad there is a so-called LIGO India, RR CATS, Ayuka Pune, IPR Ahmedabad. Primarily for stuck country, you have to build something. They can use it. Time has come, ladies and gentlemen, I give a call on this day. Go east, divide your glory. Don't just look at the west so much. All our kids are going to the west. And do what? Earn some money, but forget about our own country, which is not good. This is just the God more or less summing up the whole effort that I've been talking. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Rao, many thanks for this opportunity to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Sinha, for a very interesting account of a mixture of things, technology, science, and philosophy. And it made very interesting combination.
Thank you.
I'm sure that you will entertain a few questions. I will request our colleagues to put them up for viewing here. Meanwhile, can I start with one general question which has bugged me? I have heard many times statements that a country like India, with its population, both normal population and scientific population, needs for its progress, both scientific progress and other domains, much larger number of accelerators in the country, maybe 10 times what is there now. So what is your view on this, and why we are not pushing up the applications of accelerators in various parts of the country, or we are on track and I have not learned enough?
Well, you see, my good friend Show, the director of VECC, I believe is already working hard. We have so-called medical cyclotron manufactured here in this country by us, which you can sell it or give it for many hospitals to produce their own isotope. But I'm not sure about the details. I can find out and let you know. But I think you're right, generally. But with effort we can put, but there should be takers. There's something wrong with somewhere, but there is no excitement, no perception. We just come and go. That's all. Somehow in our time, people like Radha Ramana and so on, tremendous excitement. But now I see everybody's dead, half dead, looking for holidays and restaurants and things like that. I mean, the essential excitement of science is grossly lacking, I'm afraid. And that's because lack of leadership. I think, give me leadership, something would happen. Leadership is lacking very, very much. I don't know how, I don't want to analyze at this age. I'm very sad. What you said, Professor Rao, is quite valid and we should take it up seriously. Thank you.
Yes, I would think that the subject of accelerators is one which can very well be taken up and pursued even outside the Department of Atomic Energy in all great institutions in the country.
Well, I mean,
But barring a few of them, it is not happening.
Yeah, atomic energy has become too big to handle such a big thing as accelerator. I mean, there are abroad, there are departments within departments, like within the Department of Atomic Energy, one can have a department of accelerators and allied technology, an independent body. This is the point. They have their own council, they have their own chairman or whatever, and so on. It has to be done to get a lead on. But you know, for prostate, there's some 60 small accelerators in the United States because people are living longer and more patients suffer from prostate cancer. Now, you see, this cannot be mixed up with nuclear power stations and this, that, and the other. I suggest, humble suggestion should be the Department of Accelerator Technology, Accelerator and Science, separate body, autonomous body almost, but part of department. Like Tata is in a part of department. So I request that very much. Rather than always asking for 5 rupees and going to all the blasted bureaucrats to get the answer, it's no good. It has to be high speed. Thank you again.
Thank you, sir. One of the viewers has asked a related question that regarding nuclear physics research in general. So he is mentioning that many of the Indian nuclear physics scientists, after they do PhD, the Indian university and the academic system does not provide many opportunities for nuclear physics specialists to join them. Is it not one of the impediments in enhancing the physics research in the country? That is a question asked.
There again, lack of leadership. It's not great power. My time there was Madras reactive group. It's gone somehow. I mean, tell me which university is active now with us. There is no conference for some reason. Without conference, how would you exchange ideas? You see, something has gone wrong in our outlook to life. I feel very frustrated. I remember when Dr. Aazadi was director of BARC and chairman of Aazadi, he used to attend every year the nuclear physics conference. And from there, so many things happen that, as you know, that we old timer. So something has to be done to see very clearly what policy we must adopt to excite the youngster. Not just get a job, an early living, and go to sleep at night and get up morning and go to sleep. This is not the way to do science. Science is an all captivating business. Anyway, it's nice talking to you. I must go now sometime. And good luck to you with your thoughts. I'll be always there around to help you out. But we must excite the youngster, otherwise there is no hope at all. They will all go to what do you call this internet business, earn tons and tons of money and do nothing.
Thank you, sir. Maybe one last question, if you can take it.
Sorry?
One last question, can I post? Yeah. Do you think our country is ready for indigenously developing, manufacturing and supplying accelerators if in the rest of the country, other institutions?
Absolutely, sir. Yes. But like the space has opened a new companies, space agency, right? We should do that. Like nuclear power corporation in a much smaller version than that. We can do that as in ourselves bought things like that from their liquid and so on. We can do that. And that's one advantage we must derive, having gone through this very painful process of making this machine work after so long. So we should not let it go, but we should use it for the benefit of our country. I feel very strongly about it. But one gets people with with age, and however strong you feel doesn't matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. I think these are the questions which have been posed off and on. And we are very grateful to you for sparing your time and then sharing all your thoughts about the accelerators and accelerator science. And I'm sure this will inspire many youngsters who see this video now online and even later. Usually we find that our viewers later in the evenings and the coming days, they go back to these videos and savor the subject. So I'm sure that this will be inspiring for our youngsters. We are grateful to you not only for the leadership that you have given to the accelerator program, but also for your lecture today. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.